What did you end up doing drunk? Had a conversation with 2 police officers, and got a free ride home. No criminal record required. Still don't remember exactly what I said. In college, my drunk friend started walking towards 2 cops on horses. Our first thought was, oh no, what is he doing? We go over to try to do damage control. As we emerge from the crowd, we see him petting this horse with this giant smile on his face. Turns out, he saw a horse, and just wanted to ask the cops if he could pet it. Barkeeper was missing for 10 minutes. Tried to get my own beer, I put the money on the counter. Got kicked out. Decided to walk home at 6 a.m. Climbed a fence, and went for a walk on a construction site. Saw the bridge was demolished. Was too lazy to walk 500 more meters for the next one. Crossed the 20-meter wide river in full clothes. Climbed another fence. Finally home. It was winter. Laid in the back of a Ford Explorer, to scare my friends, before they went back to Illinois after a party. Well, I passed out, and ended up in Illinois with them. LOL. Not just drunk, but went to a party, and ended up on a different continent. 1994, Detroit. Went to a rave in a warehouse on the east side. Got talking about music with one of the DJ crowd. He asked if I want to go to his next gig. I say, yes, thinking, the usual next stop will be Chicago, or whatever. One intoxicant leads to another, and I regain clarity in a private plane over water. Although conscious, I wasn't aware we flew to LAX and refueled. We land in Sydney, and I have to go to the embassy with just my driver's license. The embassy staff know the guy. I'm, apparently, not the only American he's absconded with. Partied that night, and then went to his father's ranch for a few days. Partied in Melbourne, and then flew to Chicago with one of his friends. Hitchhiked back to Detroit. Perfect spring break. It was a time around my semi-annual replaying of Ocarina of Time, and I'm always having a laugh about how funky the Gorons are. Love those fellas. And so one drunk night, while going out for some pizza with my pals, I curled up into a ball, and rolled down the front hill of my apartment, while yelling, "No one can stop my wild rolling." Some concrete steps then stopped my wild rolling, moments later, though it was a good laugh, while it lasted. Not drunk, but very altered on chocolate mescaline. At a rave in an old theater, talking to a cute blonde about tattoos, asked about the script on her ankle. She offered to demonstrate. Find empty theater seats in the upper level, get naked, I'm pounding away, holding her legs in the air, and realized, it was her name in cursive. That was a good rave? Not exactly sure. Went to a friend's place for a work party with a tequila taster afterwards. It was there I learned. 1. The difference between tequila labels is subtle, at best. 2. The alcohol content is so high, that it becomes pointless to discern them after the second try. I had consumed the equivalent of about 8 shots, and took mass transit home. I remember getting on the train and blacking out. My next memory is, waking up a few hours later, face down in my own bed. According to the clock, enough time had transpired, to account for a trip back home, but I have no idea what kind of drunken, Mr. Magoo-like, meandering adventure I took, on the way home. So, I wasn't drunk, as most of my shenanigans revolve around psychedelic inebriation as a teenager, but there's a church and cemetery in Newtown, Sydney, Australia. A few friends of mine were on Pink Elephant tabs, discovered that the church was unlocked. It was about 2 a.m. My friend runs in, and 5 minutes later, runs out with a massive stuffed toy. Runs into the light, and it's dead as a pink elephant. We carried it around all night, and saw several other pink elephants in store windows on our journeys. Just one of those, did that really happen last night? Moments. I know a guy, who spent 3 hours with some of his friends, chasing sheep across rivers as cavemen, while they were on acid. Turned out, the rivers were roads. Still don't know how they didn't get arrested, but such is New Zealand. Late teen years, ate whole large pizza to myself, in one go, tried to chase a wild animal, hugged a tree, ate something I shouldn't have, danced on a fancy dinner party table. Adult years, even when sober, walk into walls, talking about feelings and emotions, dancing. One time, I went to a party about a mile south of a town in my county. The next morning, I woke up in a field waterway, 5 miles north of said town. I had my phone, wallet, Yeti cup, and the flashlight I never leave my house without. No one knows when I left the party, no one knows if I got picked up, or just flat out walked. I ended up having to walk 6 miles back to the party, to receive my vehicle, and ask the other partygoers if they knew when I had left. Was heading home, with a few friends, all wearing pirate outfits after going to another friend's pirate-themed birthday party. On the way back, we met group of random people, in a bus parking lot, all wearing ninja outfits heading home from another party. Of course, the done thing to do in this situation was, to stage an epic pirates vs ninjas fight, under the street lamps in the empty lot, jumping from post to post, swords, and whiskey bottles raised. We got some great photos that night, made some news friends, and I'm sure the CCTV guys, the next day, had a good laugh, and possibly a little, "WTF is going on here?" moment, as they saw groups pirates and ninjas, suddenly descend at night on this small quiet rural English town, fighting over an empty car park, before disappearing back into the night. TLDR, made out with 2 sisters separately, at the same house party, because I thought they were the same girl. Turned out that one of them was 18 like me, and the other had just recently turned 16. Story. The summer after graduating from high school, I went to my second ever house party. I was a good guest, and brought my own large bottle of Smirnoff vodka, and some orange juice for the mix. Barely anyone wanted to drink it. So, I ended up drinking far more than I could handle. Earlier in the evening, outside on the driveway, I showed off that I could still juggle while drunk. Somehow, I ended up making out with this girl I thought was pretty cute. We were in the middle of the driveway, and just playing tonsil hockey right there. It was an empowering moment for me, since I always felt nervous to do anything more than tease and flirt with girls. Later in the evening, and a few more drinks in, I found the girl again, this time in the basement. A few friends of mine and her were watching some movie on the TV down there. I sashayed my way over, put my arm around her, and gave her a kiss on the ear. She stood up from the couch, and we began making out again in front of my friends. Despite their protesting, she got even more into it this time. Very handsy, and even moaning a bit, while we kissed. Eventually, one of my friends peeled us apart, and took me upstairs, leaving her there in the basement with the rest of my friends. This is when he told me, that wasn't the chick from earlier, it was her younger sister. Her 16 years old sister. Her 16 years old, stone cold, sober sister. It was then that I decided it was time to go home, and perhaps drinking isn't for me. Partying in Osaka, Japan. Trains weren't available after midnight, and taxis are too expensive. Drunk mind decided that Osaka can't be that big, so I walk all the way to hostel. Granted, I did walk into more bars for another drink to keep me going. Walking to the hostel took about 7 hours. Sun was out nice and bright by the time I reached my bed. My friends and I rented a cabin in the Rockies. During the second day, we went to a liquor store, spent $80 on liquor and beers, after finishing a supply that was supposed to last us all weekend, in an afternoon, and don't even remember it happening. All that was gone in the morning. It was a bunch of friends and I, somewhere in the middle of Colorado Springs. Apparently, my sober friend, who was driving us, this was at like 10 p.m., and was sober, because she was cooking dinner for everyone. She's like the mom of the group, wanted to pay, and I snatched her card, tossed it across the liquor store like a frisbee. I was an ultimate frisbee player in college, and proceeded to pay myself. The clerk was like, "What the F?" And my other friend was on the floor dying of laughter. He was also mega drunk. I don't remember any of it happening. I just woke up, and I saw a notification on my phone from my bank with the transaction amount. There is a whole shared photo album of the entire weekend. You ever seen The Hangover? You know how in the credits, there are shit tons of pictures of what they did, but they don't remember? That's exactly what going through that album felt like. There is a picture of one of my good friends, sleeping between 2 mattresses, using one as a blanket, us jumping off the balcony into the mattresses, munching on the food my friend cooked, picking up burning coal from the fireplace, doing stupid shit in the woods. Apparently, we were out looking for bears, with bag draw meat on our hands, and just stupid shit like that. College was fun, man. My best friend and I were both blackout at a party we hosted. Supposedly, while he was puking in the bathtub, with 2 other friends attempting to get him to use the toilet, I entered the bathroom, and decided to take a dump. Standard 60 square feet bathroom. This was a long time ago, before DUI laws and attitudes changed. Wrecked my car drunk, got a rental, and kept driving drunk. Woke up one day, and went to said rental car, and noticed, the whole side was trashed. Went back to the ship, I was in the Navy at the time, to complain. They said, "You did that." Sideswiped a parked car, got pulled over, passed a field sobriety test, in a blackout apparently, and got a ticket. It's in the glove compartment. Went back to the car, and looked in the glove compartment. Yep, there's the ticket for failing to control motor vehicle. Over 40 years clean and sober now. I woke up drunk in LaGuardia Airport. I am from Chicago. I had never been to New York City. Don't know anyone there. I had no money. I called my mom, and she ended up wiring me enough money to get home, and also go check out old Yankee Stadium, during a playoff game, in 2000. Ordered 100 shots, blacked put and woke up in my bed fully clothed, with shot glasses all over the bed, in my pockets, and stuffed into my socks. Everything was sticky from the booze. Then another time, me and my friend, stole one of those table taps, that holds 3 liters from a bar. Then we went to 7-Eleven, bought a bottle of whiskey and 2 large Cokes, filled it up, and hopped on the train, where we offered people a free booze, if they would drink it out of the tap. Whiskey cola anyone? Whiskey cola? The tap was a very crappy quality, though, so, we'd end up spilling over a few people, who got soaked and very pissed. In the end, I had it sitting on my shelf through my time at uni, and brought it out on numerous occasions. Broke into a high school football training field, and climbed on top of the band scaffolding. Sat there staring at the night sky, thinking about life, for about an hour. Cops showed up, put a light directly on me from the other side of the field. I stayed perfectly still, and they eventually drove off. Took about 10 minutes, but I guess, they thought, I was band equipment. Soon after, I climbed down, and went back to a friend's house. In high school, my brother would let me crash at his place, whenever I wanted to get shit-faced. Usually, we'd drink there, so he'd supervise my poor decision-making. One time, I went out with friends nearby to a party, and he told me, he'd leave the back door unlocked, so, I could get in when it was over. Solid bro move. I got to his place around 2 a.m., and for the life of me, couldn't remember how doors worked. Ended up passing out on his back patio until 5 to 6 a.m., until a neighbor woke me up, and reminded me, that you have to turn the knob for doors, to do door things. Haven't really drank, or even been drunk in 20 years. Just not my thing anymore, but those were good times. Back on early 2000s. Worked at a pizza place. Small town, friends party on a private house. It's 4 a.m. and I am proper drunk, still willing and capable. No food in sight, and this bad boy, really needs his food before bedtime, when he gets drunk, to soak up all the mistakes done. So, I pick the pizzeria's lock, make a nice fire on the pizza oven. Cook a pizza, do some prep for the next day, eat my pizza while having a cold beer, pay for it, clean up, and leave. The owner calls me into the office. Next day, on the end of my shift, he is watching me on the CCTV, points out that I have tipped myself, and gives me a set of keys to the front door, saying, "Next time, just use the bloody keys, mate." What a effing legend Mr. Paul was. R.I.P. Paul. What did I not end up doing? I jumped off a building, and instead of tucking and rolling, I landed flat-footed. Couldn't walk right for a week. Rode a dirt bike, wrecked and tore up my knee, hand, cracked my face, lost a tooth, and busted my chin open. Drove, countless times, got pulled over twice, and was just told to roll my windows down, and go home. I was 18 to 19. Finally got a DUI, 2 months before my 21st birthday, and thrown in the worst jail ever. Did make me stop drinking. That's just the highlights. Snuck out of a college party, without telling anyone, got chased by my friend's boyfriend down the street, while sobbing violently, tried to throw myself into oncoming traffic, and got pinned down by college students, while I was crying, and apparently, I kept apologizing over ruining the party. Worst parts? It was during Halloween, so, I was wearing very badly done clown makeup, and I was on a foreign country, and we were flying home the next morning. Safe to say, I'll be 3 years alcohol-free, this Halloween. Had a bonfire. Just a few people over. It wrapped up around 11 p.m. Brother-in-law left soon, after the fire ended. And about 10 minutes later we get a call. His truck had broken down. Call a buddy, who wasn't at the party, to come pick me up, since wife and I were both hammered. We get to where the truck broke down, try a couple of quick fixes, before calling a tow truck. Right after we get off the phone with the tow company, there was a car accident right around the corner. My drunk ass walks over to help out. It's two cars that wrecked with a third car that stopped. All said, there is about 8 teenagers that all know each other. Now my buddy and brother-in-law are both a little socially awkward, so they basically hit around the corner. So I am trying to convince the girl who wasn't at fault to not leave the scene, and the girl who was at fault to call her mom. First girl sees my point. Her parents are going to be worried, but she wasn't at fault, and at this point wasn't really in trouble. Second girl was crying, and I am trying to comfort her, while being drunk off my ass, and double her age. Finally, we call her mom. She freaks, but heads that way. Around this time, a cop shows up, and a random parent comes. She sees me, and says, "Oh good, an adult is here," and I just start laughing. She quickly realized I was drunk and laughed and started calming kids down. Cop gets my statement. Realized I was drunk, then saw our cars around the corner, asked if I had driven, and then calls us a tow truck as well. We finally get home around 1 a.m. For the next hour, as I am trying to fall asleep, I keep hearing a scratching sound. I finally get up to investigate, and see a bat flying around. It goes into my son's room. I hit it with a Nerf battle axe, and it lands on my son's bed. We drag him out, ASAP. I stumble downstairs for a bag. We have to search his room again for the bat. Finally find it, and put it in the bag. Call the hospital. They recommend a shower and inspection for bites. So, around 2 a.m., we are giving my son a shower, as he throws a fit, since we woke him up. On the plus side, the bat wasn't a carrier of rabies.